We recognize we're going to push a metaphor here a little bit. It is amazing sometimes how preferences and desires and opinions can quickly turn on us to delight or frustration in life, even in a little snack game like that. But thanks for playing along. We want you to kind of tune in to moments like that where all of a sudden you were pretty pleased because all of a sudden the one you wanted was right there in front of you, and then how did it feel when all of a sudden it was taken away? Truth is, we know in life, in games like that, but in life and in church life together, it's not always the case that we're going to end up with our personal preference, with our desire, with our best option, because thankfully, some things are out of our control. And so as we come together as a group, we need to learn about what this is like, and how do we move forward with that. So if you're someone, while I'm talking here, and two of you at your table would be very happy to swap, please feel free to trade. You can open those snacks up and get your dessert fix on. But I'm going to segue that a little bit into a talk tonight. I was asked to share a little bit about my experience with relinquishment and what relinquishment is. So we're human. Of course, we have strong desires, right? We're born that way. We have strong opinions. Some of us, we have them more than others. We have strong preferences. There's things we like. There's things we don't like. There's things we are comfortable doing. There's things we're not comfortable doing. And we can be aware of them. We're aware of them in little, game moments like what we just played. We may be aware of them on a Sunday morning in certain types of music that we're attracted to or not attracted to. Maybe even in church life, there's some bigger things that come to mind that are strongly held for us of opinions or desires. And that is normal. It's part of being human. But in church life, in regular life, in games like we just played, we need to remember not everything is going to be within our control to get to a desired outcome. And thankfully, that's the way it should be. But that's where relinquishment comes in. So I want to share a little bit. And I want to suggest tonight that actually one of the most basic elements of following Jesus is relinquishment. And in Luke 9, verse 23, we may be familiar with different translations, but New Living says, Jesus said to the crowd, "If any of you wants to be my follower, you must give up your own way." Older translations say, "Deny yourself. Take up your cross daily and follow me." I love how the Message puts it. "Anyone who tends to come with me has to let me lead." Jesus speaking. You're not in the driver's seat. I am. That's Luke 9 from the Message. It's pretty clear, but we know this is not how our world functions. So I want to remind us tonight, this is not a burden that Jesus places on us that he himself was not willing to embrace. Jesus was key to who he was on earth. He was obedient and relinquished to the mission and will of his Father. So if you think with me, the story just before he went to the cross, Jesus is in the Garden of Gethsemane, again from the Message in Matthew 26. It says, Jesus went with them to a garden called Gethsemane, told his disciples, "Stay here while I go over there and pray." Taking along Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, that was James and John, says he plunged into an agonizing sorrow. This is in the garden just before he died. Then he said, "This sorrow is crushing my life out. Stay here and pray with me." Going a little ahead, he fell on his face. So I hope we're getting the picture here, right? Agonizing sorrow. He says, "This sorrow is crushing me," falls on his face, and here's his prayer. "My Father, if there is any way, please get me out of this. But not what I want. You, Father, what do you want?" And when he came back to his disciples, he found them sound asleep. I'm going to fast forward a bit through a tangent that he has with them. Don't fall asleep on Jesus. He then left them A second time it says, and again he prayed, Father, if there is no other way than this, I'm ready. Do it your way. It really is the most remarkable picture of relinquishment. And I want us to note here, it's okay. Like, Jesus had a completely different desire and preference than God the Father did going into the garden. His preference was not to die and go to the cross. His desire was not to have it play out like that. Often, I think, when we think of Jesus and the Father being in lockstep, we think they must have always had the exact same preference and the exact same desire. It's clear he's saying, like, Father, if there's any other way, I would love that to be the case. And there's nothing wrong with that. It didn't come easy for him, right? He falls on the ground. We see he's in distress. He keeps asking, but we need to note, in his final prayer, he's not asking for God to do it his way. He's asking for help so that he can submit. And that is the heart of relinquishment. So when Jesus says to us, if you want to follow me, you've got to let me lead. And that other one, you've got to give up your own way. It's what he modeled for us in the garden as he submits to the will of his Father. And it's important for us as individual followers of Jesus, and I want to suggest it's just as important for us as a group, as a collective or community. So real quickly, just my story around this. 13 years ago, I was introduced to this book that's called Pursuing God's Will Together. And it's written by Ruth Haley Barton. I've shared a little bit of it with some of you before, but she writes on page 188, and it's bigger on my notes than in the book, so I'm just going to read it from my notes. She says, at the beginning of any leadership discernment process, ask for the grace to be relinquished to matters of ego or prestige or organizational politics or personal opinion, personal advantage, personal preference, personal pet projects, etc. And then I love this. Listen to this. Ask God for the grace to desire his will, nothing more, nothing less, nothing else. That's relinquishment. Ask God for the grace to desire his will, nothing more, nothing less, nothing else. So that doesn't mean we quit. That doesn't mean we give up. That doesn't mean we stop caring, but we surrender control. We're willing to exchange our desire, our opinion, our preferences for his. And then this praying for relinquishment, it actually helps me loosen my grip that I want to keep on things. And it can be hard, right? It can take time, especially if I've already started with an opinion that has deep roots, or a desire that goes back a long way, or maybe I'm already really invested in a direction or a decision that will impact me directly. It's not easy. But in 2013, a year after I'd been introduced to the book, at Youth Unlimited, where I work, we switched over to this relinquishment and discernment model for all of our key decisions. And I just want to say 12 years later, it has been a complete game changer for the sense of unity within us and the sense of just a togetherness and moving in the same direction. And around the beginning of COVID, here at Forest Brook, our elders leadership group, we began implementing this same model for our key conversations and decisions. So to relinquish and then to listen and discern and respond together. Starts with relinquishment. And at its core, it's effective because Christian leadership, as distinct from other kinds of leadership, it's not about me leading a group in my direction to accomplish my vision. Christian leadership is actually about guiding a group into a position to be led by Jesus Christ, who's the head of the church for his mission, right? Missio Dei. This is what we've been learning about through the fall. And so as Christian leaders here with the eldership, that sense for us that as leaders here, it's not about us finding our vision or carving our direction, but a sense of being able to listen together and lead, a posture of leading our church into the direction that he has for us. So from personal experience, relinquishment isn't something that you and I can just try harder and be relinquished, right? I can't just grip my teeth and let it somehow go. It's actually the work of God's Spirit in me. And we see that in Jesus in the garden, right? So I have to ask him for help, right? My opinions are strong. My preferences are strong. I need his help to let me let those go, just like Jesus prayed to the Father. So for me, sharing with others where I'm actually at in terms of relinquishment or places that I'm stuck, places that I'm having a hard time letting it go, I find it can be helpful. It can keep me self-aware. It can let me invite others to kind of pray for me in an area where I know, like, I'm really kind of driving my agenda inside here. Like, I really want to go in this direction. I'm struggling with it. It can let me ask people, pray for me that I can let this one go. And I find it really helps around the table. It keeps transparency in leadership decisions and in conversations. It kind of gets all our stuff on the table. And we're able to name areas that we're kind of holding on to and where we need God to help us let it go. And then there's not my hidden agendas anymore, right? And it's one of the reasons why we're so emphasized here on building a community with trust so that we can share these things with one another. So Robert, as you said this morning, I kept leaning over to Leanne this morning and just saying, oh, that's such a good point. That was so thoughtful. It was beautiful this morning. But you reminded us as we're looking forward, what lies ahead may not be easy, were your words, and it may not be comfortable. But friends, I just want to say what a beautiful adventure to share together. If we each ask for God's help to loosen our grips on our own preferences, our own desires, our own preferred directions, and together we discern and engage in where the Lord is inviting us. And I'm confident if we commit to this spiritual exercise, practice of relinquishment, the Lord can get us there, that we can do this together. So that is just, relinquishment is so key. I know there's lots there to take in, but we're actually going to move to a video now. If you are interested, come and see me after if you want the name of this book. It's been really, really helpful for me in my journey. So